I was drinking my coffee. I would hope it would be a longer jingle. And it wasn't, so I apologise. And I apologise again if you heard me make a slurpy noise during that. It was just coffee. Okay, so here's the key 3 things to think about. And the last point has got 7 things. So it's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's kind of 10 points, isn't it? Kind of, if you discount the way I've put it all together. First point, how to kill your speaking career dead. And you should really put in how not to kill your speaking career dead by doing the opposite of what I'm saying. Well, no, do what I'm saying, but don't kill even before you started it. You could, okay. Number 1, choose your battles, but remember you're always in public. So here's what I mean by this. If you get into an argument with somebody in public, especially on social media, and you're right and they're right in their own eyes, it looks like 2 rabbits fighting, blah, 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 and it looks really pathetic. Even if people know you're right, they're just going, wow, you made a fool of yourself, even if you win. You've got to be so strategic, so careful about it. Only choose battles that you know you can win. So on social media, here's what I do. When I get people that give me grief, haters and trolls, or just argumentative people, sometimes I make a comment, and I tend to avoid certain subjects, which I'll explain to you a bit more later on. So I'll make a comment, and somebody will suddenly come in with a comment that looks out of place. Normally you get, yeah, nice one, great Dave, oh, I think this and I think that. But sometimes you turn around and say, you're so full of yourself, who do you think you are? Sometimes they're a little bit more ambiguous, and you're not sure whether they mean it as a joke or they're just playing. So what I do is I check the name to see who they are, and I reply with something that's giving them the benefit of the doubt. So if they say, you're so full of yourself, I might say, I'm not at all, but I do believe I'm right about this one point. See, still not trying to cause a fight, just giving them a benefit of a doubt that they're trying to be nice. And then sometimes they come back with something even more so, like had a look at your profile, and your profile says you're an expert in this, not that, so what do you know? It doesn't matter what they say. At that point, the gloves are off. Now, Gary Vaynerchuk, who I really respect, I met him, he was in Dubai about 6 months, was it 7 months ago? He really likes to have haters and trolls. He says you should always talk to them, always get involved in a conversation with them. And so people observing can then say, oh, look at that, you got out that one. Well done to you. But I don't believe in that. I don't. Why? Because I don't have time to spend on these, I won't say idiots, but yeah, idiots. And also, what I discovered was supposing I got 40 comments on a post, and one comment was nasty, and I gave him benefit of the doubt, and it came back nasty again. And then what I would do is I'd give them another one to hopefully calm them down, and then they come back again. But what I would do is my post, I'd forget about the post, I just think about them. I think about what are they going to say next. And I realized that if I've got 40 people who are responding to me on a post, and 39 are saying nice things, why am I only thinking about the one person who's horrible and trying to keep them happy instead of contributing more to the people who've already bought in? Do you get what I mean? Give you a point for this. Years ago, when I used to work as a DJ in nightclubs, there was a guy who used to run the top nightclubs in the Northeast. Brilliant, brilliant guy. And he showed me around his clubs, and they were always top clubs, really well decorated. He had top-notch people paying more money than anyone else to get into his clubs. And I was a DJ. I was on the radio, so I got kind of VIP treatment. And so he was showing me around how he does door security. And he said, look, see these bouncers here? These are the toughest bouncers in the region. No doubt. They're the hardest guys, and they can handle anybody. And we know that, and they know that, and the audience knows that. That's why I don't let them beat anybody up. So what do you mean? He said, well, think about it. People go to a nightclub, and they're paid a lot of money, and they might be drunk, but they're dressed really nicely. They come in. All my guys are trained to welcome everybody as custodians. Welcome to the club, have a great night. Welcome to the club, have a great night. If they don't stand there like that, arms folded, who are you? Look at me, I'm tough. I'll get you if you're bad. Because 99% of people are really nice. So therefore, they let everybody in, look after them. If somebody creates trouble, they go over and try and calm them down without using any violence or force or the fact that they're built like blooming, a house. None of that. Calm the people down. Most of the time they can calm it down because people know that's the bouncer and I should really behave. If something does kick off, then they go for it and they end the conversation because that's what they can do. But they don't show that first. That way you only get nice people going and people feel safe. They know there's no violence in there and they can feel safe having a good time with their friends, with a girlfriend, boyfriend, because nothing ever happens in those top clubs, which is why they're willing to pay the money. So the way I see it is on social media, I'd rather not spend my time worrying about the people that are causing problems. What I do is I'll answer them twice, then I'll look at their social media profile. Once I've had a look at that, I decide whether they've got a relevance in what they're talking about, or they're sat in their office bored and they said, right, that's come up on my feed, that person looks a bit popular, I'm going to have a go at them. And some people do that. Honestly, some people do that. So then I decide on what I'm going to do, and normally I just get rid of them. But here's the key. Do not block them and then go to delete their comments, because once you block them, you can't see their comments anymore. So then people could turn to you and say, well, why are you letting this stuff come up on you? Have you seen your profile? See what people are writing on your post? You go, no, I can't see anything. I'm going to send you a screenshot and you go, oh my goodness. And you can't unstop it because you blocked them. So what you do is the other way around. Delete their comments, then block them, and they can't find you and they can't find your posts again. Honestly, you have to do it that way. So that's how I deal with it. Choose your battles. They're always going to be in public. Be very careful about it. I'll take him around the back and give him a good chewing. No, don't. That's me squashing an orange. Number 2, be ultra professional and tech savvy. Know your stuff. I've had a few issues with the tech of this show. I didn't go online until I knew I had it all worked out yesterday. So I didn't go online until I had it all worked out, but today it's fine. And everything's working perfectly. And also, be ultra professional. It's like if you're going to speak at an event, make sure you wear... I always say, position yourself one step above your audience. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm wearing a polo shirt and you're sitting there in your underwear, in which case, good for you, and you probably just woken up. Or maybe you have no clothes and you live in your underwear. Or maybe you're a nappy. Don't know why I came up with that. Moving on. Whenever you go on stage, even if it's a casual event, I like to wear a sports jacket and jeans if everyone's just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I want to look one step above everybody who's there. If everyone's wearing a suit, I'll wear a very smart suit or maybe a tuxedo. One step above every single time. Even with this show, I might only be wearing a polo shirt because it's relatively comfortable for me, but you can see by the amount of presentation that goes in, the show itself looks to business. Everything from the jingles to even the setup for this is done a certain way to make it look good. See? Hey. All right, number 3. Three. Is this one. Are these good for you, by the way? Give us your thoughts. I'd like to know if these are useful for you, because I'm sure there's stuff you've come across as well. And this and more, by the way, on Speak on Stage, if you go to speakonstage.com. Okay, number 3, tiptoe, champion, or avoid the following. Tiptoeing. These 7 subjects are ones that you cannot win unless this is what you do for a living. So when you talk about racism, politics, and all the rest of them, you can see the list there. I'll go through in a moment. These are things that you will offend somebody in the audience, even if you think that we're really good people and they are your people. They will differ with you on one of these subjects, so be very, very careful. For me personally, I avoid them all. I won't talk about them unless I'm specifically asked, and there's a way of getting around it by saying, in my opinion, then saying what you want to say. If you don't say that, then they can get really offended. But if you say it's your opinion, it's kind of like a license to say what you need to say, but then you let them feel good about their own opinion equally if you want to give free speech. Personally, I wouldn't give anybody free speech. So tiptoe around these subjects, avoid them if you can, champion them if it's really your key topic. If you're a politician, you have to talk about politics and maybe about race. If you're an All Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter person, then you're going to have to talk about these subjects because people are going to ask you about it. But generally, here we go. Don't talk about race. You never know who's married to somebody else in that room. There's a lot of mixed race marriages. You might be talking around about, the coronavirus came from China and you've got a sea of black and white faces. And you're saying there's no Asians in this room. You don't know who's married to an Asian. I'm married to an Asian. You wouldn't know that from my face. Of course not. So be very careful and respect everybody. Number 2, politics and nationalism. The minute you go near politics, somebody's not going to have the same view and somebody's going to get very offended. And the thing is, when you argue with any of these people, even if you're right, you can be wrong. Because if that person starts getting upset or crying, especially if they cry, you've lost a room. People turn around afterwards and say, well, I agreed with what you're saying, but I didn't agree with what happened to that person. You could have been a bit more careful. Well, no, you've got a microphone. It gives you an advantage over everybody anyway, and you can ignore them if it's online, and you can't ignore them if you're in front of a live audience. But sometimes you can turn around to the organizers if you're not the MC, and you can just point and they will go straight over and have a word with the person or take them outside to have a chat with them. You don't have to deal with it on your own. Earnings, don't talk about how much you earn. Some people in the room will earn a lot more than you, in which case it'll just laugh at you and it'll position you as small when you talk about how much money you earn. And some people will earn a lot less than you or may have lost their job and they'll be really offended by you bring up money at a really sensitive time. Same as if you talk about, how much you hate cats. You might end up with somebody in the room whose cat just died last night, who doesn't find it at all funny. I've got dogs. I find it funny all the time. But I understand if some people don't. Number D, gender politics. Don't do it. Me Too movement is brilliant. You can talk about that, but at the same time, you've got to look at who your audience is. And if I do talk a lot at diverse events, on ones about women empowerment, but I don't pretend for a second to be a crusader. I talk about the fact that I love my wife, I love my daughter. I've got 2 dogs in the house that are female. I don't mean my wife and daughter, I mean my 2 dogs. So I've got 4 girls in the house. That's what I mean. Got out of that one. No, money's not going to save you, Dave. So I talk about the fact I've got a very female perspective on life because I've got to be super sensitive to the people around me. But I don't pretend to be female. Obviously, beard would make me look a little bit weird. But I can get away with talking about it a little bit from the point of view of a guy who knows nothing. Then I'm allowed to speak. If I talk about it like I know the law and this is where it should be, then that's a completely different thing. Not something I would do, even in a room full of women. Sexual preferences. Whose business is it? Nobody's business. Unless you are going along to a special party where everyone puts their car keys in the middle of a table and then gets undressed. Your sexual preferences are of no interest to anybody else. And also, bringing up somebody else's in the room is their private stuff. Let them keep it. If they want to tell people, that's their choice. Okay? Again, think about the event that you're at. It might be that you're an LGBTQ event, in which case that's an important part of it. So just be very careful. And respect other people as well. Some people don't want to be outed. Most people don't want their private stuff to be shared in front of an audience. You have no right to do that, ever, without their permission, and sometimes even with their permission. All right, F, religion, don't go near it. People in the room will be different from you, and it's equally right as you are, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth the hassle of declaring something. What I love about Dubai is you've got base part of 180 different nationalities all living in Dubai, of which everyone's got a different New Year and a different celebration time, whether it's Christmas or Eid or Diwali or Chinese New Year, and we all celebrate everybody's. We celebrate everybody's because it's great food that you're going to get. You're going to get a party somewhere, and it's really fascinating to see how the other half of the other part of the world comes together. So respect that, but be very careful. And the last one, G, is profanity. You'll never hear me swear on my show, or very rarely. I did one a little while ago. I didn't realize the microphone was on, but I'm not going to tell you where because you'll never find it. That's how I can make money and not lose it by getting kicked off. So profanity, you never know who's in the audience. And here's the thing, you might be able to say, you know what, guys, I've got this story to tell you, and you sort of do it. You can kind of get away with it, but here's the problem. If somebody is watching you and thinking, this is a great speaker, I want to get them to my next event, and you swear, they're now thinking, oh, do I want the people who are at the event to turn around and say, did you bring a swearing person? In which case, they're probably going to go, I liked it, but I'm not going to invite them. So be very careful. For me personally, I would look at a family, respectful audience and what I would do if there's a family involved in the room when I'm talking. Unless it's a nightclub or you've got a bar crowd or you're a stand-up comedian, in which case people know what to expect. Gary Vaynerchuk is a sweary Mary. He's always effing and jeffing all the way through, but that's what you get from the Gary Vaynerchuk. You know that. People don't like it. He doesn't care less. That's part of his brand. But if it's not part of your brand, you have to be very aware that not everybody's going to know, that everybody's going to like it, and some people might not come back and spend any money with you. So I hope this was useful for you and you learned a lot from it. I'd love to have your thoughts and your ideas on what I missed out. Anything that you think is useful, please share it with me. I'd be more than happy to share that with people on a future show.